After college, I was only making $22,000 a year, and now I make over 6 figures. That's insane. 22-year-old me can't even fathom where I am now. And I wanted to share with you exactly how I did it. People don't suddenly become rich overnight. It's taken a lot of trials and tribulations and ups and downs and just learning more about myself and how the world works to really grow and build my wealth. We all start from a knowledge base of 0. Nobody knows anything about what they're doing in career negotiation, in knowing how much they're worth, in learning about investing, and it takes a lot of time to develop those habits and the mindset and the mentality of growing rich and thinking like a millionaire. So in honor of the very last video of the year, I wanted to take a look back at my own wealth building journey to share with you how I started from making less than $30,000 out of college to actually being able to grow my wealth to over $250,000 and earning a 6-figure salary. I wanted to be fully transparent about my own wealth building journey and how I got from where I was to where I am now. I am still constantly leveling up my knowledge and, learning more, but I am in progress, and I think it's even valuable to see where I am in this middle state. I'm not at 0 anymore, but I'm also, by no means a millionaire or even close to my fire goal yet. So I am still a noob, I feel like, in that sense, and I just wanted to share with you so you can get a sense of how it started, where it's going, and be inspired no matter where you are in your journey. Welcome back to Millennial Money Honey, where we talk all things money. If you like frugal tips, life hacks, following my journey to fire, subscribe and hit the notification bell and like this video so you can see more content like this. So let's take it all back. I graduated college back in May of 2013, and I started out for the first year post-college with a job making $11 per hour, which equates to about $22,880 per year. And not only was I making that little amount living in Los Angeles, I was also on a 1099 contract, which means that they didn't even take out taxes. So at the end of the year, whatever little bit that I had managed to save, I had to still pay taxes on that. So made even less than that after taxes. It was a rough year, literally just scraping by I'll be fully transparent, without the support of my parents on occasion. And I am so fortunate in that sense because my parents were able to help support me. They didn't pay for rent all the time, but like once a quarter, my parents still had to help me with rent. That's how little I made. And really, it's like impossible to live off that salary and still live in a big city like Los Angeles. I think maybe under different circumstances or in a different lower cost of living city, maybe 22,000 you could have made a living on, but I'm very curious to hear where. If you know of a city like that, please let me know, because maybe that's where we should all go start our fire community. That was my very first job out of college. Not only was the pay absolute shiz, the environment and work situation was extremely toxic, but I felt just at the time so grateful to even have a job. I did not even negotiate that $11 an hour. I felt beholden to the job. I needed this paycheck. Like, the environment was full of bros. It was like a boys club, and I was the only woman working there, except for occasionally the owner's wife, who was HR, would be in the office like maybe one day a week. I remember going to her one time saying like, they criticized me and put me down, and they won't even refer to me by my first name. They never call me Katie. I was like subhuman. Like, I didn't even really feel like a human around them. But she was like, yeah, just put your head down. And as long as you do good design, that's how you'll earn their respect. Basic human decency wasn't to be given unless you just kept your head down, because I didn't know any different. Maybe this is how everywhere the work environment is supposed to be. Yeah, maybe I should just keep my head down. But I felt like I couldn't leave the job because I didn't have the money to. But it honestly got to a point where I was coming home and hysterics, crying every day that I was like, I need to get out of here or I will go insane. I stayed for 1 year and then I was able to find a new job. I felt like a weight was lifted off that. And that's honestly, looking back, that is the impetus that drove me to become financially independent. Like, you need to be able to have money to walk away from the job and have FU money. So you can like, just be like, F you guys, I'm leaving. Even if your work environment isn't like that, if you ever get in a situation, you need financial independence. So my new job, I started in October of 2014, and that pay was for $15 an hour. That's a huge bump. That's what they offered. Again, I didn't negotiate. But it was for a company that I really wanted to work for. I respected their mission. They focused on social good and doing better in the world. So for me, after having been in the entertainment industry, that first job, I knew I wanted a company that, had a heart at its core. And so after several months in that position, they increased my salary to $25. So that is like a whole $10 more, which is wild because that just goes to show how underpaid $15 was. And I had no idea at the time that $15 was so little. I didn't know any better. And if you don't talk to anybody about money, you're also not gonna know. So that's what makes me so passionate about Millennial Money Honey is by talking about money and asking others related to your industry. It helps everybody. Maybe it's awkward to ask a coworker how much they are making, but like if you ask anybody else in your industry, they I'm sure are more than happy to tell you how much maybe even is a fair rate for the type of work that you're doing. So let's talk money, guys. After that raise, I eventually got hired as a full-time employee, and their salary offer was $65,000. Just remember, I was making $22,000 2 years ago, and $65,000 was a number that was truly astronomical to me. Like, I could do so much with that money. I could spend it on all my clothes. I could finally get the new bedding that I wanted. I could pay rent and save and then some. So $65,000 was so exciting. So 2 years after I had been salaried at $65,000, I was finally saving enough money and decided I needed to take charge of my personal finances. And this was largely in part to doing a no spend year that I was able to save so much. So check out that video or a podcast, and you can hear all about how I actually accomplished that and my tips and tricks for how you too can accomplish a no spend year and save a ton of money. Because of my no spend year, I had enough saved, I was earning enough. I finally decided, you know what? I need to do something. And we had an actual investment person from our 401k company come to the office, and you could sign up for free and give you a check-in on how you're doing. So that's when I decided to take inventory of all my assets, and the lady suggested I start investing more. And I had no idea how to do that, but I knew I could increase my money to my 401k, and I decided to open a credit card, which I had never opened a credit card on my own before. So yeah, I didn't open my first credit card on my own until I was 26. That's old. Like, I knew I was responsible enough with my money, so I finally decided to look into credit cards. And that is how I got my first credit card, which was the 2% Citi cashback. Still love it, still use it. Still the only credit card I have to this day. I'm gonna look into it eventually, maybe next year when we can travel again for a travel rewards one. Finally, in December of 2018, I decided to look for a new job. I had been with this company for 4 years, which is like ancient history in millennial terms. I feel like so many of my other friends had kind of been moving from job to job every year to 2 years. So me staying at a job for 4 years was kind of a long time, but I was really ready to move on. And I had only ever gotten a 2% standard increase raise, despite having been told, oh, Katie, you're such a top performer, et cetera, et cetera. I never got a substantial raise. Nor did I really think to advocate for myself. So twofold thought, I didn't advocate for myself, even though they gave me lots of pats on the back. I'm a person who's really optimistic, and I just naively believe that if you work hard, people will see that and they'll vouch for you. And that's just really, the older I get, the more I realize that that's not really how it works. It's you need to advocate for yourself. And even if you are doing a good job, at the end of the day, you're your own best advocate. And And that's something, it's taking years to learn and something I'm still learning. But I had heard that people get raises from leaving a job, but until I actually did that, I actually had no idea like how much more you could increase. Like my next job that I took in December of 2018 was for $85,000. That was a huge learning process, being able to negotiate for that big of a raise and to negotiate that salary. I thought I was on top of the world, and it allowed me to really level up my finance game. And this is kind of when I took my investment learnings to the public, to Instagram, as I was teaching myself. Finally, in April 2019, I had just been passively investing in my robo-advisor Wealthfront. I didn't really check my finances every day. I wasn't like as into it as I was now, but I opened my Wealthfront one day and it had $100,000. I had reached $100,000 net worth, which was a huge milestone for me. They say the first 100,000 is the hardest, and I truly believe that. From me graduating in 2013, it took me 6 years. Now, it wasn't until 2019 until I finally saw 6 figures in my bank account. So that was a huge, exciting accomplishment. And, obviously everybody wishes they could have been investing like yesterday or 10 years ago. And I think you just do what you can and you celebrate your wins when you can, and that's all you can do. So I knew that I didn't want to work at an ad agency forever. An opportunity came along about 9 months into the job. And at that point in the job, I wasn't that happy. The client was really difficult to work with, and the work that they wanted me to produce wasn't the quality of work that I would put in my portfolio. And I knew eventually I wanted to move up to the Bay Area to be closer to my family. And the path that I saw for that was working in tech, because there are so many tech companies in the Bay Area. So an opportunity came along approaching me about a 3-month contract at a tech company in Los Angeles. And I thought that was the perfect thing to add to my resume, work that would look fun and sexy and look good in my portfolio, and be able to have tech on my resume so that I could eventually translate that up to a job in the Bay Area. So the job I took was for $70 an hour, which annualized is somewhere around $145,000, which is insane. That was absolutely more than anything I could even fathom. But although that's kind of regular tech money, to be honest. But for me, that was wild. And too, for shorter contracts, they do kind of give you a higher rate because it is such a short job. So that was really fortunate. I'm really grateful for that opportunity. Because it gave me such a big cash cushion, I took the next 3 months off. For the month of December, I actually didn't do anything. And then January and February, I freelanced. And for that, my rate increased to $80 an hour. So during those months, I learned that I actually don't really love freelancing. I like the structure of a 9-to-5 and being off, versus freelancing is a lot more self-regulated and you have to have a lot of self-discipline. That brings me to March of 2020. So I would reach out to a couple of recruiters, and I really love working with recruiters because they do a lot of the job of serving your resume to places that you wouldn't even have an in if you just blindly applied. And even though they do take a cut of whatever the company is paying, at the end of the day, you still see the number that they tell you you're going to see. And I really appreciate having that rapport and somebody to coach you through the interview process. So I'm a huge fan of recruiters. Not everybody is. They are like, oh, I can do it myself. But for me, it's been a really great experience, especially getting into the tech world. So my recruiter approached me with a job that seemed to fit all my description. It was in visual design in the Bay Area, but the rate was only $58, and that was the top of the range. And I was like, okay, it was a company that I would be down to work for. I would be interested in working for. And at that point, I was ready to get back into the 9-to-5 world. And so I did take the job at a lower rate. And honestly, still having that low rate of $58 an hour annualizes somewhere around $120,000 a year. So for me, it was still worth it to take that pay cut, have that stability, and just be happier. At the end of the day, money isn't everything. And that's also what I've learned. this account and my journey is so financially focused, but it's not about the money. It's about happiness, finding the freedom to say F you, to be able to walk away from the job, knowing your self-worth, your value at the end of the day, having financial freedom to have happiness and to find purpose in life. And I think that's what this journey is all about and what I hope you take away from your own wealth building journey. Like, numbers are great to see, but at the end of the day, the money is not going to be sleeping with you in bed, cuddling you at night. Like, it is the happiness you derive from the freedom that money brings you. And that is the goal. That's all the videos I have for this year. I hope you enjoyed listening to more about my wealth building journey and that you'll continue to see me grow, and I hope to see yours too. So if you like this video, again, like and subscribe it, hit the notification bell to get notified when I drop the next video, or if you're listening on the podcast, tune in and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll talk more money, honey.